Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today we have our first guest, FPL Chai. How are you doing, mate?
Well, good, Brad. Thank you for having me on. Delighted to be on another channel, and it's always a good sign. So, looking forward to show the team.
Yeah, good to have you, mate. And today we're going to be looking at a wildcard 4 draft that FPL Chai has put together. So let's get straight into it. Okay, so looking at the draft then. So you've got Martinez in goal. Let's go talk us through that one.
Yeah, I really like Villa's fixtures going forward. You see a lot of green in the fixture ticker, so and it's a nice opening fixture with Everton at home. I feel like there's an opportunity to. I know with the keepers in general, like the likes of Henderson, everyone kind of went on him, and he hasn't really returned that well so far. So you could kind of change it up a small bit and go with Villa. I think defensively they haven't looked too bad this season as well. So I'm very happy to start with Martinez if I were to wildcard.
Yeah, they haven't looked too bad, to be fair. And I think if you're wildcarding this week, I think triple Villa is kind of key, to be fair. So Martinez is quite a nice way to get into that, yeah. And then in defence, you've got Porro, Konza, Gabriel, and then 2 4 millions on the bench.
Yeah, look, they don't have the best fixtures this week, the likes of Porro and Gabriel. But I think it's important with the wild card that you roll as many weeks as you can, especially because you're using it early. So you kind of want these players in place, so you don't have to transfer them in the future. And I think, if they weren't playing each other this week, it'd almost be a no-brainer. But yeah, really like Porro. I think we've seen against Newcastle how many shots he takes and how many positions he was getting up in. And Gabriel, who is just a monster in the air as well. Again, not the greatest fixtures because they're playing each other, but you never know. They might come up with something. Ponce, another Villa defender. Same reason for Martinez. I think at 4.5, he's the most nailed in that defense if it's not Pau Torres. And he can also play right back if need be. So very happy with Conte as well. I think he comes in at a very good price.
Yeah, I like Konza. I think Konza's kind of a must almost. And yeah, Porro, I was watching the Newcastle Spurs game. I had Porro first on my bench and watching him just get into some of the positions. He finds himself like the highest player on the pitch at times. And he's, like you said, had the most shots in the game. He's kind of scary to watch if you don't own him, almost. And yeah, like you say, Gabriel is just ridiculous in the air. So yeah, I think there should be goals in that game anyway. So potentially not great for clean sheets, but they're both quite attacking and dangerous. So I don't see any reason not to. Yeah, and then in midfield, you've gone pretty heavy. So Saka, Salah, Rogers, Eze, and Mbomo. Talk us through them.
Yeah, I think Saka is the third best asset in the game. Again, not the best opening fixture, but he could definitely easily do something against Tottenham. Salah, I don't think there's much to say about him. We've seen in those first 2 weeks what he's all about, and we've seen over the last 5 or 6 seasons how good he is. That Forest at home fixture, captaincy shout for sure. There's another man up top though before we get into it that you could potentially captain. Morgan Rogers, who isn't the best in terms of the last first three fixtures. I thought he looked very good on the eye test though. And I think at 5 million, you can't ask for too much. And again, he's really good fixtures. So playing that 10 position for Villa, if Watkins can maybe click, maybe he can get some returns. And at 5 million, I think he is best value when you're going for the structure of this type of team where it's heavy hitting in the midfield and forward line. Eze at home to Leicester, a player that I highly encouraged to hold on to. Very unfortunate not to return those first 2 weeks. But again, a lovely opening fixture with Leicester at home. Fixtures after this aren't the greatest. But I think Crystal Palace talisman, it doesn't matter who they're going to play. Eze is likely to be involved if they score. So definitely happy to have Eze with a price drop as well. And then last one, Brian Mbomo, who I think is a no-brainer on wildcard. After his City game, I think he might have another difficult fixture, but then he goes on a spell of games where he's absolutely phenomenal, and there's some of the best fixtures in the league. With Tony out, he's also on penalties, so they're talisman as well. So definitely, Mbeumo's a must in my team.
Yeah, to be fair, I agree. I think the fixture might be Spurs in the following week, which
It
having
is,
watched
yeah.
Spurs against Newcastle might not be actually too bad, given Spurs seem a bit of a mess at the back. But I see kind of Eze and Mbomo as quite similar players, really. If there's goals for their teams, they're likely to be involved, which is key. And they're both on penalties, likely, and both going to play 90 minutes. Rodgers is just, if Watkins could finish, then we'd all be talking about, everyone would have Rodgers in their team, more so than we already do. But yeah, I like the midfield, to be fair. I think I'd probably go with a very similar one. And then, obviously, up front, you've got João Pedro and you've got Haaland. I think they're both no-brainers at this point, but yeah, talk us through both of them.
Yeah, my actual team, I have João Pedro, and I have done since the start. I benched him unfortunately last week, but he's been a nice hold, and we're delighted to be owning him. A lot of people seem to bring him in. Another price rise this week, maybe today, I think it was, and then a lovely fixture, Ipswich at home again. So João Pedro, he doesn't go on the international break in the following weeks. That's also a big plus. So definitely a great asset for that price point, and also on penalties. Um, Haaland, of course, my arch nemesis. Of course, we went 30 weeks without him last season, but he's hard to deny, and especially when you can make a team which I feel like is decently balanced. The only issue is the bench. But again, that Brentford home fixture, you never know what could happen. We could see three hat tricks in a row. And I think it's more so the run of fixtures he has from game week 7 onwards. You know, he has that Southampton at home fixture, and I feel like you definitely need him for that. Um, so delighted with that front two for sure.
Yeah, João Pedro was one that I also started with him. It was quite tight for me between him and Armstrong at the start. I was kind of assuming that Armstrong would have the minutes, but it's just a worse option. And I was kind of assuming that João Pedro would play 60, 70, 75 minutes each week. But we've kind of lucked out in the sense that he's just played minutes, which is decent. I was tempted to bench him like you did. It was between him and Porro for me, but I benched Porro. And yeah, Haaland, you mentioned it there, your arch nemesis. So yeah, you famously basically went without Haaland for how long exactly last season?
It was 30 game weeks, I think, and it was I got him back in game week 30, I think it was.
Yeah, nice. I mean, well, it clearly worked for you, to be fair, given that you were top 100 for pretty much most of that time. But yeah, I know what you mean. Like you say, from that game week 5 fixture against Arsenal, obviously isn't the best, but he looks like he could do damage against anyone. And then from game week 7, you want him always pretty much. And then looking onto the bench, you've pretty much gone as cheap as possible, but you haven't really got many risks in the 11. So was that the kind of thinking behind that?
Yeah, so I do like a bit of depth in the team. So when I see a team like this, I think there is a few sacrifices that have to be made when you go Haaland and Salah. I think in general, I would say at least 10 out of 11 are should be guaranteed regardless of European fixtures. Of course, Sterling came in for Arsenal, so maybe Saka can get some rest, but hopefully that's not in the league. And of course, the likes of Morgan Rogers, who they have Champions League this season, so he's the one I think could potentially be rotated. Um, but maybe there is opportunity to get funds from elsewhere and upgrade a Rogers if need be.
Yeah. Plus, I mean, it's not really the type of player that you can bench given the fixtures he's got, and it's unlikely that he'll get no minutes anyway. So the bench probably won't need to be used. But yeah, starting 11 is just pretty strong. I guess if you really wanted to, you could take Martinez down to a 4.5 and then upgrade one of the defenders to, I don't know, Pau Torres or something like that. But I do agree that there isn't really many risks in the 11. So yeah, the wildcard team looks good, to be honest. Yeah. So thank you very much, mate, for coming on. And I'm sure we'll do some more stuff in the future. But if you don't already, which I presume you do, then follow Chai on Twitter, subscribe to him on YouTube, do all of that. You probably are already. But yeah, thanks for coming on, mate. And yeah, hopefully do something similar again soon.
Yeah, cheers, Brad. Thank you.